Hello everyone and welcome to an AWS tutorial by Intellipaat. AWS RDS is short for Amazon Relational Database. If you have a relational database to manage, RDS does that for you. You can connect your database to any of the 7 engines that are provided by AWS, which include PostgreSQL, MySQL, MariaDB, Oracle and many others. Some of the features of Amazon RDS are lower administrative burden, scalability, performance, advanced security, cost effectiveness, manageability, availability, and durability. We will know more about the Amazon RDS in this video, but before we begin, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for regular updates.
Alright, let us take a look at the agenda for today's video. Firstly, I'll be introducing what RDS is. Next, I'll move on to why choose RDS over EC2 or on-premises setup. So EC2 is basically a computing service offered by AWS. You can also store databases on this service as well. You can also do a on-premises setup of your database as well. So we'll be comparing the three situations or scenarios wherein you can store databases. That is, we'll first compare on-premises versus EC2 and then compare EC2 versus RDS and why you should choose RDS over EC2 or on-premises. Next, I will move on to some of the basic concepts of RDS, and finally we will have a look at a small hands-on session wherein I will be teaching you guys how to spin up a MySQL database instance. Now that we know our agenda, let us move on with the first topic, that is introduction. Amazon RDS is a managed relational database service provided by AWS. Now, what do you mean by managed? So, Amazon is responsible for some of the functionalities within a relational database service. So, they will take care of some of the features, including the hardware, the management part, the backups, snapshots, etc. So, that is why we call it as a managed relational database service. And it makes it easier to set up, operate, and scale relational databases in the AWS cloud. So if you already have any other setup on AWS cloud, it makes it easier to integrate your RDS with those services as well. Suppose you have a computing feature or a storage feature, let's say you're using Amazon Elastic Block Storage EBS, and you can connect it to your RDS instance as well. So the integration is very smooth within the AWS cloud, and it is also helpful for scaling relational databases. Let's say suppose you get a lot of entries during a certain time of the week. Let's say on the weekends you get a lot of database entries in your application. So that time you have to scale it. You can use the auto scaling feature in Amazon so that you can scale up or down depending upon the situation. And some of its important features include a dashboard, which is basically a graphical user interface provided by AWS. You can also use other ways as well, which is the command line interface or the RDS API. But a graphical user interface is the easiest way to interact with the RDS service. And then you have database engines, various popular database engines also you have. And then you are provided with a query editor wherein you can write SQL queries so that you can get the data that you are looking for. And you also have performance insights. So it is basically a dashboard wherein you get metrics, that is you get pie charts for various features and metrics, so you can look at it and get insights from it and make whatever changes you want for your business or your application. And then finally you have snapshots feature as well. This is basically like a checkpoint feature of RDS. You can create a snapshot and save it. If something happens to your RDS, let's say if the data gets corrupted, you can always fail over to your snapshot. You can create a new RDS instance by using this particular snapshot. You can even set the time interval for your snapshots as well, let's say every day. So every day RDS service will automatically take your snapshots and save them. So if one fine day your database gets corrupted or let's say it gets hacked, you can fail over to the snapshot of the previous day. And coming to the different database engines that are supported by RDS, firstly we have the very famous and popular MySQL. It is very popular and it is an open source relational database management system. So since many people use it, this is the first no-brainer option provided by AWS. And next we have SQL Server, which is Microsoft's offering of a relational database management system. It is not open source, it is owned by Microsoft. It has a proprietary license, so you need to buy the database engine from Microsoft. Since many people use Microsoft and are comfortable with them, Amazon has provided with the SQL Server as well. You also have PostgreSQL, which is again another open source relational database engine, and it is object relational database management engine compared to the just RDBMS by MySQL. And one more thing to note in PostgreSQL is that it is mainly made for data science and data analytics purposes, which basically requires very high Iops. Iops is nothing but input output operations per second. So if all the data science applications use very high Iops, so PostgreSQL provides that, and that is the reason why people use PostgreSQL for this purpose. So Amazon has provided this database engine as well. And coming to the next engine, we have Oracle, which is again a huge enterprise. Oracle is a huge enterprise, and it supports other database engines as well, like MySQL and PostgreSQL. It is commonly used for running online transaction processing. That is, it is used for banking purposes. It is used for data warehousing and mixed data workloads as well. Next, we have MariaDB. It is a very high performance relational database solution. MariaDB is a good choice if you want a high performance database engine. And next, we have Amazon Aurora, which is a homegrown relational database service provided by AWS themselves, and it has easy integrations to other AWS services. So if you choose Aurora, you do not have to worry about the integrations part or the connection of endpoints as well, because Amazon makes it easy for their own homegrown services to integrate with each other. And finally, we have Amazon Rds Custom. Let's say you are using MySQL on your company, and that MySQL runs on a different version which is not provided by MySQL engine. So if you want that particular version, you can always go for Amazon Rds Custom and they will provide it for you. And this is not the only use case of Amazon Rds Custom. The other use case is it is used as a software layer for on-premises servers. That is, let's say a company decides to buy a on-premises server and they want Amazon themselves to come in and install their software layer, that is the Amazon RDS layer on top of their on-premises server, physical server. You can opt for that as well. Alright, that concludes the introduction part. Now let us see why should we choose RDS over EC2 and on-premises setup. Amazon Elastic Cloud Compute, or also known as EC2 for short, provides scalable computing capacity in the AWS cloud. Amazon EC2 eliminates your need to invest in the hardware upfront so that you can develop and deploy applications faster. And for a relational database in an on-premises server, you assume full responsibility for the server, operating system, and software. That is, you need to have dedicated teams for them, who take care of the server maintenance, the operating system, installation, configuration, setup, and patching, etc. You should have a team for that, operations team for that. For a database on an Amazon EC2 instance, Amazon manages the layers below the operating system. In this way, Amazon EC2 eliminates some of the burden of managing an on-premises database server. So as you can see in the comparison table below, in the first column we have features and the comparison between on-premises management and EC2 management. So as you can see, the last three features is maintained by AWS when it comes to EC2. That is the power, networking, and cooling. That is a major factor. You have to pay for your electricity. You have to have a networks team which can build a network within your server, and then you also have to provide cooling for your servers as well. You have to maintain it. So that takes a lot of manual labor and money as well. And you have to maintain the hardware life cycle. So let's say you have to change your physical wires which connect to the server, and then you have to change your RAM and storage as well. That is basically hardware lifecycle that is managed by AWS. And finally, server maintenance will also be managed by AWS. And the layers after that, you will have to take care. That is, the customer who buys the EC2 instance will have to take care. So if you compare this, AWS EC2, that is the EC2 service, will take some burden off of the customer. That is, it will manage 3 of the features and rest you will have to take care. So it is a better solution than an on-premises management. Now let us see how RDS compares to EC2. Amazon RDS is a managed database service. It is responsible for most management tasks. By eliminating tedious manual tasks, Amazon RDS frees you to focus on your application and your users. Amazon themselves suggest customers use RDS over EC2 for relational databases. So as you can see in the table below, Amazon RDS will manage everything except the application optimization. So it will manage the scaling. If your database has to increase or decrease, it will take care of that. Let's say at a particular point in time, your database has to be highly available. Let's say at night 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock in the night, that is in the PM, your application starts receiving very high requests and it has to be highly available. So that will be taken care of by AWS themselves. You also have database backups. Basically, your database will be deployed in 3 availability zones, 3 data centers, so that even if one of the data centers gets, let's say something happens to that data center and your data gets lost, like physical damage or let's say thunderstorms or rainwater, whatever natural causes that might be, so they will have backups. That is, they will replicate your database and put it into 3 availability zones, and these all features will be taken care of by AWS themselves. You also have software patching. You also have software installation. That is, you do not have to install MySQL Server. You do not have to install Microsoft SQL Server. You do not have to install PostgreSQL software. You don't have to buy all of that. That will be bought and installed by AWS themselves. They will also do OS patching. Let's say your operating system which you're running on your server, let's say it is Linux, since all of them use Linux generally. If Linux has an update, AWS does that update for you. You do not have to take care of the updates of the operating system, and they will also install your operating system. Maintenance and all the 3 layers below the operating system layer, which was discussed in the previous slide, will also be taken care of by AWS. So as you can see, the only thing you need to concentrate on is the application optimization. That is the application layer which you build on top of your database. You are responsible for only that application. So it will take a lot of stress and money issues, management issues off of your shoulder, so that our developer can concentrate on his users and his application development. So this is what Amazon RDS is used for. It is used for small scale developers or a single developer who is trying to build an application by himself. Next, we will move on to Rds Concepts. So first we have database instances. Now let us see what a database instance is. A database instance is an isolated database environment in the AWS cloud. So it will not be open to the public, so it will be isolated. The basic building block of Amazon RDS is the database instance. So this instance can be connected to any of the database engines. The next concept we have is database engines. Obviously, it is a specific relational database software that runs on your database instance. Amazon RDS currently supports the following engines. So one more thing before I move on, a database instance is nothing but a database server which is spun up as soon as you create a database instance. It basically allots a server space for you, and depending upon the database engine that you choose to connect to your instance, the server space can be increased or decreased. So let us see what are the engines that we have. As we have seen in the previous slide, in the introduction slide, we already know what database engines that are provided by RDS. We have MySQL, which is a very popular database engine. Next we have MariaDB, PostgreSQL. All these 3 are open source relational databases. Next we have the database giant Oracle, and finally we have Microsoft's SQL Server. Now let us see what are database instance classes. A database instance class determines the computation and memory capacity of a database instance. A database instance class consists of both the database instance type and the size. So you will have to choose whatever class that is suitable for your particular scenario, right? And each instance type compute different memory and different storage capabilities. Let us take an example here. DBM6G is a general purpose database instance type powered by AWS Graviton 2 processors. You can also choose other processors for your compute capacities. You can also choose the Apple's A14 or A15 Bionic chip. You can also choose Intel's chip. But if you go for the default one, AWS will provide you with the Graviton 2 processors. And coming to memory, memory is nothing but the RAM of your database engine. This depends on how much Iops you want, that is the input output operations that you are expecting out of your database instance. And finally, we have the storage capabilities. Storage is nothing but how many rows of data that you are storing, that is how many transactions or basically how many tables and the size of the table you are storing in your database engine. So you can by default you will be provided with 30 GB of storage. You can obviously increase that with a few clicks, and even better if you turn on auto scaling, that AWS does that for you. And coming to the next concept, we have database instance storage. So this is where your database, that is your actual data, gets stored. So there is another service called Amazon EBS which provides block storage. It provides durable block level storage volumes that you can attach to a running instance. Database instance storage comes in the following types. So imagine EBS as external hard disk drive, that is external HDD. So you can connect how much ever size of HDD you want to your laptop, right? So in a similar manner, you can connect how much ever size of EBS you want to your already running database instance. And we have general purpose storage, which is SDD, which has Iops of 3000 to 4000. So if you consider a normal hard disk drive, it will have somewhere around 450 to 500 Iops, but EBS provides you with SDD, solid state drive, and it has an input output operations per second of 3000 to 4000. That is, in a second it can perform 3000 to 4000 operations. And finally, we have provisioned Iops. So this concept of storage will be taken out here. So you will only be paying for the number of input output operations that your database instance will provide. And finally, we have magnetic storage, which is basically a very slow storage. If your app is not using storage very regularly, you can go for this one. And finally, we have HandsOn, guys. Now let me move on to the AWS website. Alright, the first step you need to take is go to your preferred browser and type in the URL aws.amazon.com, which is basically the homepage of AWS services. And then before that, you have to create a AWS account. If you already have that, please sign in, or if you don't, just check in the Amazon website of how to create a Amazon AWS free tier account. So AWS basically gives you a free tier account which is for 12 months, and it has many features available for free. You can basically play around the AWS service console and get some idea of what AWS is. But I already have an account, so let me just log into that account. Alright, so this is the AWS console. So here you have all the services, and here you have the search button. So I will just search for RDS and click on the RDS icon, which should take me to the Rds Dashboard. Alright, this is the Rds dashboard where you can see database instances. So the maximum number of database instances you can create is 40. So right now I have 0 instances, therefore it is showing 0 out of 40. And you can also have database clusters, which is nothing but many database instances grouped together is called a database cluster, and you can have up to 40 database clusters in your AWS account. You also have reserved instances. This is used for special purposes. You also have snapshots, which is taken every in a regular set period of time interval. So you can choose it to be 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 90 days, whatever. So you will have automated. The snapshots can be automated if you set it whatever time interval you want. You can also manually take screenshots, snapshots, and this will be stored here. And this is the log thing. Basically, whatever changes happens to your database will be stored in the recent events. It basically serves as a log for your database instances. And you also have event subscriptions. This is not important. You have parameter groups, option groups, you have subnet groups, so you can also choose security here. Whatever security that is needed for your application, you can choose it here. You have supported platforms. You can choose your database instance to be in the open cloud, or you can also choose a virtual private cloud and basically isolate it from the other cloud. And the default network will be provided here. You can change it by clicking on this hyperlink. Now, how to create a database? You can just click on the create database orange button here, and before that you need to choose your region, that is the AWS region which your application will be deploying in, where your user base is. Basically, you will be choosing that here. And you can also restore your database from S3. Let's say if you are storing your database in S3, your app automatically stores data in S3, and it can be restored from the S3 service. So you also have that leisure here, but I won't be doing that. In this hands-on, I will be concentrating on creating a MySQL database instance only. So I will choose my region as Oregon, and I will click create database. So it will take me to the create database web page. Now here, the very first option you get is create database, the method you want to create in basically. Though if you select standard create, you set all of the configuration options. That is, you need to set the security measures, you need to set in the IP address that are allowed to enter your database, etc. So all of these settings you have to basically select, but I will be choosing the easy create. It will have all the best configurations possible, and it will create a basic database for you. Configuration is our second step we need to do. So here AWS allows you to choose whatever database engine you want, and I will be selecting MySQL here. And coming to the third step, we have database instance size. So you can choose from production, dev or testing, or free tier. So if you choose production, you get DBR6 G X large, which basically provides you with 32 gigs of RAM, of 4 cores of virtual CPUs, and 500 GB of storage, and it costs you $1 per hour. So in a day you will be spending roughly about $25. But for tutorial purposes, I will be going for the free tier, which will give you with 2 cores of virtual CPUs, which is basically Amazon Graviton 2, and 1 gigs of RAM. That is sufficient for basic input-output operations, and then you are provided with 20 gigs of storage for your database or tables to be stored, and it costs $0.02 USD per hour, which is negligible. And here you are allowed to give whatever database instance name, which identifier is nothing but the name for your database instance. So by default it is database 1, I will say Intellipaat database, and you are allowed to choose a master username. I will just let it be the default option, which is admin, and it will ask you to create a password, which I'll be doing it right now. It will also ask you to confirm your password. Alright, after doing all the 4 steps, now we have an option to view all the settings. So encryption is enabled in the easy create mode, which we have selected here. VPC is not turned on. If you want your database instance to be in the virtual private cloud, you can do that, but you can edit these settings after your database instance is created. That is, if you want to make any changes to this default settings for easy create, you can do that after creating a database. So delete protection is enabled, maintenance is enabled, monitoring is enabled, and database port number will be 3306. So in case you are using any APIs and you want to connect it to your endpoint, you can use this database port. Alright, after reviewing all of your default settings, you can click this button, and it will spin up a database instance in the Oregon region within few minutes, under a minute usually. So if you click this orange button, then you are done. Your database will be created. Alright, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching till the end. Have a nice day.
Just a quick info, guys. If you want to make a career in cloud computing, then Intellipaat provides an advanced certification on cloud and DevOps by IIT Madras. This course is taught by industry experts and IIT Madras faculty. This course is designed to upskill and land your dream job.